Hello and welcome back to Seaside Garage and another car in the fleet. Yes, this belongs to me. How lucky am I? This was a very impulsive buy. You might know I have a lot of cars already, but winter is coming and I had to think about what to drive in the winter, and this came up through one of my contacts who watched the channel, the guy I bought the Ford Escort from and the Datsun 120Y. Suddenly I just got that thought it could be fun to drive around in a cabriolet through the winter. Then my plans changed and currently I am probably going to use the Mercedes 123. But I still bought this, and the thing about this, unlike most of my project, is that even though it is quite rough, this is actually completely freshly MOT'd almost. It's a month ago, I think. Maybe a bit more, but it is with MOT, currently without number plates, but I can just go ahead and buy them, put them on and drive it. I don't still really know what the plans for this one is going to be. Maybe just a bit of a wheeler dealer like thing where I try to fix up the stuff that's wrong with it, make it look better and then sell it, hopefully for a profit. I also like it. It is a pretty cool car. And you might think, oh, that's a Rover 200 Cabriolet. You got head gasket problems, but oh, wait a second. This is the Honda engine. It's the Honda 1.6 16 valve engine developing 122 horsepower. So no, I do not necessarily have head gasket issues like the K-Series engine is known for, but it is overheating. So that's one of the problems. So, surprise, not surprised. Anyway, let's take a look at this car. I'm going to put it on the lift and take a look at it. I suspect it to be decent underneath because it is freshly MOT'd, but you just never know. There is a lot of cosmetic stuff that needs to be fixed in this car, that's for sure. But let's just take a walk around this car. It's black, as you can see. I don't know how well it picks up on the camera, but it's black in very many different colors because there has been some rust repairs done quite quickly on this one. This car went through an MOT a while back. It didn't pass because of rust. Then Hans, who I bought this from, bought it, and then he had to hurry up and fix the rust because you have, I think, a month to fix the stuff that's wrong on an MOT. At a MOT before you have to do a completely new MOT, and it had some issues with rust in the rear wheel arch and the panels and so on, and he hurried up and fixed it so it could go through that MOT. I do think he did the job decently, but the paint has just been thrown on and it needs to be filled and all that, so you will see that is quite rough in the panels, and there is a lot of cosmetic stuff that could be fixed. And for instance, the wheel arches are new. He welded in new arches and then just painted some paint over it quickly to avoid it rusting. He just didn't have time to continue on this car. He had a lot of other cars. So instead of just putting it outside with the bare metal on the wheel arches, he put some paint on it really quickly. So it needs to be grinded off, of course, filled, sanded, and then painted in the original color, if I can find that. I haven't decided whether to just go ahead and paint the entire side of the car or just the areas that needs painting and blend it in, because this car there's not a lot of metal because of the roof is a cloth roof, so I could paint the entire side quite easily and maybe get a bit of training in actually painting cars before I start working on the Saab exterior, because I would like that to be a little bit nice. But yeah, that's done. Let's take a look at the other side. It's pretty much the same. Wheel arch, the trim pieces in the rear. And yeah, also the front wheel arch needs to be dressed up. And as you can see, Hans was really in a hurry. So he even painted the rim slightly. So I have to take that off, and also the bumper. The hood is there. Unfortunately, it's not in great shape. There's some tears right there. The rear window is very hard to see through. They are actually not that expensive, a new hood, but I will not be able to afford that if I should have any chance in actually making a little profit on this car. So I think I will just have to repair what's there and hope that will be good enough. But when Hans did the rust repairs on the inner wheel arch, he unfortunately cut into the hydraulic lines for the hood mechanism. So I have to do some reconstruction there and repair that so I can make it actually work and do cabriolet stuff. That would be nice. This is a well-used car. It is not a low miler at all. I think it got 300 and something on the clock, which is quite a lot. 319 it's on. I'm not that worried about that. It's a Honda engine, so but it's definitely a well-used car. But the interior is rather nice and could be cleaned up decently, I think. Especially the passenger seat, as always, is in good condition. The driver's seat is worn and ripped. So yeah, it will need a repair. Maybe I can be lucky and find another seat for it. I don't know. Just gonna have to see. I did test drive this when I got it, and it is shaking badly when you brake hard, which is a bit surprising considering it's freshly MOT'd. So I guess something has been messed up afterwards. I just don't know, and Hans didn't know either. At first, it just felt like completely warped discs. But if you take a look at the discs in here, they do look brand new, so I guess it's not the discs. So maybe the discs are not put on straight, or maybe it's the caliper slides that is a problem. I don't know. It's really shaking badly. There's also a sound coming from the rear left wheel, or was it the right one? I can't remember. It sounds like something is just dragging against the drum. And then there is the overheating, and let me just talk a bit about that, because it's not really overheating, but it can overheat if you're not careful. Because Hans bought this car and drove it 400 kilometers home, and it drove just fine, except for the shaking brakes, of course. And he noticed that the temperature started to climb quite a lot while driving, and before it got to the red, he put on the heater in the cabin, and that neutralized it and put it in where it's supposed to be, and he could drive it home just fine. But every time he shut off the heater inside the cabin, the temperature would rise. So I don't think it has overheated. I'm not even sure it is overheating, because it could be a temperature gauge problem, of course. But it is weird that it is lowering that much. So I think there's something up with the coolant system of flow. Thermostat. Maybe if the thermostat is somewhat clogged or not opening proper, you can use the cabin heater as a radiator for cooling the engine. That's a normal trick on old cars. If it's overheating, just crank the heat up. But maybe the main radiator is clogged, the thermostat or something like that, making the interior radiator actually doing most of the cooling. So there's something there that I need to fix, of course, but I am really not thinking head gasket issues at first glance, other than the fact that maybe it's just so much in the DNA of the Rover engines because of the K-series that the head gasket is just blowing on this Honda engine just to fit in. But I really don't think so. But I'm just going to fire it up so you can hear it. I'm just going to put my exhaust extractor on and then fire it up. There we go. Sounds great. It sounds so much Honda-ish. It reminds me so much of my wife's Honda Civic she owned a couple of years back. She actually owned two, a 1.3 and a 1.5, and it just got a bit of the same sound. And yeah, it is a very reassuring engine. Even though it got 320,000 kilometers on the clock, I'm not really worried about this engine being a big problem. It is probably on its last journey soon, but it doesn't sound that way. it's sounding great, and it's pulling really decently also. So yeah, that's really nice. I think I don't think I will have to do much work to this. Of course, I will have to investigate whether the cam belt has been changed. There is a sticker on it right there. Oh, that's 10 years ago, so that won't do. So I will probably have to change that unless I can find any kind of documentation about a change after that date. I would actually presume, because it has been in service until recently. But if not, I will have to change that. Probably also the water pump, just to give the coolant system a bit more to work with. It's running great. That's nice. I'm just gonna switch it off. And yeah, as mentioned, the temperature will climb in here. You can see it's already quite high, considering I just fired it up. And as long as it is on full heat, it will stay at that temperature. If not, it will rise up. So I have to do something about that. It is a bit concerning that it's rising up that quickly, though. But yeah, maybe there's absolutely no flow in that radiator. I don't know. We'll see. And that wooden trim, very, very British. Oh, a Corona mask. Ugh. And a very, 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 very nasty gear knob. Wow. Yeah, it needs a good clean. I like the frameless doors, and of course also the cabriolet top. I can't really put it down right now because the system is not working. So that's one thing that I need to fix, because it's quite important to be able to do cabriolet stuff in a cabriolet. Otherwise, it won't really make much sense. Let's put it on the lift and take a look at the bottom end, and then make a shopping list of stuff that I need to buy on this car to make it decent. And then we'll just see what's going to happen with it. Oh, by the way, I forgot to show you the party piece of this one, and the reason why I was considering using this as my winter. Because not only is it a cabriolet, but it also got a trailer hitch, which is awesome. I really could use a car with that. So I really like that. I think it's the least appropriate car I have currently to have a trailer hitch, but it's one of the only ones I have. So yeah. Firstly, let's take a quick look underneath the car. Yeah, so it has had some repairs, but it looks all right in here. I don't see anything too bad. Yeah, looks decent. It's definitely a car that has had a lot of rust, but has also been fixed and so on. I think it's decent. The bushings on this rear swing arm is not looking great though, but very Honda-ish though. But what I would like to try now is to see if I can pinpoint that shake I'm getting under braking, because that's definitely the worst part of this car. The disc is definitely brand new. That's probably been changed at the MOT. But why is it shaking so much then? It could be the gliders in the caliper. I'm going to check those. Of course, it could also be on the other side. It could also be on the back. But I have a feeling it's at the front because it's so feelable in the steering wheel. I'm just going to try to undo the caliper bolts to see. There we go, now I should be able to swing it. Oh no, that's the wrong one to take because the brake line is not long enough, of course. Actually, but I can check that the glider up top is fine at least. It's just that if these glide pins are stuck, they can make the whole assembly flex and jump. And that could very well be what's causing this. I'm just a bit surprised that they didn't pick it up on the MOT. Maybe it's not feelable on the brake stand. I don't know. But that's definitely a bit of a mistake from their side. Yeah, the lower one is just fine and loose also. So I don't see anything wrong on this side. At first glance, the disc itself could of course be put on crooked. So I could end up having to test for run out on that. But I'm going to take the wheel off on the other side and inspect and bring you if I find anything. The other side also appears to have been worked on quite a bit. New discs, new outer drive shaft. But I think the issue is at this side because when I spin, it sort of binds up right there. The disc is on crooked. I mean, if something is under this, it's not been cleaned right, then that could be causing the issue. Oi! Ah, that wasn't really... that was a bit hectic of me. Top glider is just fine also. The lower glider is just fine also. Nothing seems to be a problem right there. Whoa, I think I found the problem. I just clamped that right there. With my finger. I'm just going to zoom in on a bit on it. I'm just letting it touch the disc and then spin it. Oh, now we suddenly got almost 0.5 millimeter of clearance. Now we are back. Half a millimeter of clearance. I don't think the disc is warped, to be honest, but either the disc is warped or it's just put on very, very crooked. So I'm going to remove it and clean all of this off and then see if I can put it on a bit better. Now, I'm sure this is the problem, but just to show it a bit better, I think I'm going to try to fit this. And then try to focus on that clock. Do you see the amount of movement? This, I'm sure I found the problem. I just wanted to demonstrate it a bit more clearly for you guys, but it is. Moving in and out around 0.5 millimeter. That is a lot of run out. So I'm going to remove the disc and see if I can do something about it. This wasn't supposed to be a wrenching video, but I want to buy the parts that I need for this fix. Well, not really. It's actually decently cleaned in here. I think I better just clean it up once again and then put it on and check the run out. So now I at least know that this is very, very clean. So if this doesn't work, then it's got to be something to do with either this or the disc. I also cleaned the inside of the disc, of course. This seems almost worse, or at least the same. It's just the same. So I wonder what's wrong with this. So what if I just check the outer diameter on this one? Would that make any kind of sense? Yep. This is out of shape for some weird reason. It moves in and out just the same as the disc. So I wonder if this is the fault. I'm just going to try to pull off that bolt and see. I seem to be able to pull out the bearing by hand, which is not normally possible. It's normally a pretty difficult thing to get out. I wonder if it's a bearing issue. It probably is. Bearing at least is apart. So I'm not really sure if it's the bearing or the hub itself that is at fault here. I think it came out surprisingly easy at least, and apart also. I think this will be fixed with a new bearing. It became quite a bit better now actually. But still it's not perfect. I think the new bearing is in place. It came apart very easily. But I definitely found the cause. I'm just not sure what's causing it. I'm gonna put it back on. Okay, so the wheel is back on the car and I didn't really get any wiser. Well, I know what's wrong now, I just don't know what's causing it. The entire wheel is moving in and out around 1.5 of a millimeter, and that is definitely noticeable. Of course it would be exaggerated up here, but that was down at the disc. There is no play in the bearing at all whatsoever, even though it came apart. I'm going to change the bearing, but I have a slight concern that it's maybe the hub itself that somehow got no longer true. Next bit that I want to check is this. And I'm pretty sure it's just the dust cover in there. I'm just going to take the wheel off and fix that. Yeah, this looks like a home-brewn dust cover that has come off. There we go. Homemade and very noisy. This touched the inner rim. So now that's no longer noisy. So I think what I need on this is a cam belt kit. I need a thermostat. I need a new bearing and a oil filter just to change the oil. I don't think I want to order anything else than that to begin with. And then I need to figure out the correct color. I'm gonna find the paint code somewhere and order some paint so I can fix it up and make it look a little better. And then I need to fix, of course, the hood. I need to fix that and take it from there. But what I want to do now is to put the wheel back on and get the car back on the ground and then take it for a small test drive just to see if there's anything else that pops up. Sometimes stuff can look just fine but show themselves when you drive. So I'm going to try that. So let's take it for a small drive and see what's what. You do feel that this car got 320,000 kilometers on the clock on stuff. I mean, there's a lot of interior bits that I presume have seen better days than now. But everything can be fixed, of course. It's just a matter of if it's worth it. Oh yeah, just thought there was a brake failure, but it's because I pushed the pistons back in. Let's go for a ride. I'm gonna keep an eye on that temperature gauge just to see. When it rises up, I'm gonna switch on the heater blower just to cool it. Currently I just have heat in here, but not the blower blowing on it. I actually got quite a few vibrations while driving. That could be, maybe that could actually be that crooked wheel. It probably is, because it's got to be the entire wheel that's doing a little bit like that. So it's not only, I forget that it's not only the disc that's moving those. It's a 0.5 millimeter down there, but up at the wheel, it is going to be a little bit more than that. So I really need to fix it somehow. So far the temperature is just stable. Maybe it's just enough to have the heater matrix on. Maybe it's not even necessary to open that blower engine, but that will of course boost the coolant a little bit. But I got temperature in the engine now. It's a bit later, and yeah, it's not hot right now at least. There's actually a bearing sound coming from the rear left, so maybe I should get a bearing for that. Of course I should be careful, it's an old cam belt, but I'm gonna give it a bit of throttle just to feel it anyway. Look at the shaking on the braking. I'm actually not going to brake too much because there's no reason to damage the brake disc. If the disc is fine, because I presume the disc is fine unless it's already damaged. But yeah. But apart from the shaking and the braking, it feels all right. I can definitely feel that it's a worn car, but it's not that bad. Temperature is stable enough as long as I have the heater on. I'm just gonna put it on cold and just keep an eye on it and see if it actually rises up. I haven't experienced it. I was just told that it did heat up slowly unless that was on. It seems to be climbing very slowly. I'm in the middle of the gauge now. It's maybe 10% higher than before. And it is rising a little bit, even more. There's still a long way to go to the red area. We are probably, yes, I don't think there's much wrong, but something makes the flow a little bit obstructed, I think, into the radiator. Or maybe it's just a thermostat that is not really even open yet and the gauge is just showing a bit much. That way I will cool it with this. I don't know, we'll see. Now it's actually falling a little bit again. I'm not sure there's anything wrong with the coolant system. Anymore at least. It could be an air bubble that was there when he tried it, Hans. Anyway, this is yet another project. It's not supposed to be a very big project because, as mentioned, it is MOT, but I would like to fix those small things. I would like to use it to hone my painting skills a little bit to see if I can get a decent result and learn a little bit before I try to tackle the Saab 900 Turbo Commander, because that's a big job, I think, for me at least. I don't really know what I'm going to use this car for still, if I'm just going to try to sell it to make a little bit of profit. It is a cabriolet, so I presume it's worth something just because of that when everything works. It's also decent to have a spare car through the winter if something breaks. I could also just spare the Benz a little bit and use this as a winter car. I'm not really sure. It was an impulsive buy, as always, but here it is. I think it's a cool car. Thank you for watching. Don't forget you can support me on Patreon. There's a link down below, and see you in the next one. Woohoo!